Drop it. Yeah.
Alright, what is going on everybody? My name is Flexible and I am back from my 2-week hiatus now. As I've announced, well, 2 weeks ago, after my little break that I wanted to take, I'm going to publish a Crusadia tutorial, and this is part 1 of this tutorial. For this entire week, I'm going to upload one part of the tutorial every day, so this is going to be a huge thing. I'm going to talk about so many things like engines, combos, tech choices, whatnot, deck profiles, deck building, in a little more detail. But in today's video, I mainly want to talk about the archetype itself. So if you're a very experienced Crusadia player, then this video might not be as interesting to you, simply because you will probably know what all the cards do already, so I don't have to tell you about it. But if you're new to the game or new to the archetype and you thought maybe, you know, I'm gonna check it out, it looks interesting, a friend told me about it or whatever, then this is definitely the video for you, because after this you're gonna know whether you would like to play this archetype or not. And now I would say let's hop right into this. Now the Crusadia archetype contains 5 main deck monsters, 3 spell cards, 2 trap cards, and 5 extra deck monsters, as well as some. They're not strictly Crusadia cards, but they're still like linked to the archetype, especially lore-wise, with World Legacy is the main storyline, and then Crusadia is a part of the World Legacy storyline. But yeah, so the Crusadia deck in its purest form, it's a going second based like OTK combo deck, but you could definitely also go first with this, especially after I'm done explaining some of the more combo oriented effects of this deck. Every single monster, which is basically also the main reason why this works as a combo deck so well, has the effect that it can special summon itself into a zone and link monster points to, which makes every single one of the Crusadia monsters an extender. And also, since we have this Crusadia Magius Link 1 monster here, every single card is also an extender, which means that just by playing all the Crusadia monsters, you have 15 combo starters and 15 extenders in your deck. And as you're going to learn in the Crusadia combo tutorial, basically any Crusadia combo is a 2-card combo, so 1 combo starter and 1 combo extender. Which makes this pretty consistent actually. And yeah, Crusadia Maximus and Crusadia Draco being the most important cards. Crusadia Maximus is basically the main. Crusadia Maximus being mainly the OTK enabler, because he can make a Crusadia Link monster you control deal double battle damage, and you're gonna learn why this is so powerful when we're talking about the extra deck monsters. But he's also a light monster, also a level 4. So there's so many different aspects and combo wise, just with other engines that I'm going to talk about in a later video, that make him so important to the combo or just the deck in general. Then there's Crusadia Draco, which is also a level 4 monster, but also a dragon monster, which enables us to play the God Dragon combo variant. And also he can recur your resources, because if you special summon into his own link monster points to, then you can take a Crusadia card, not a monster, a card, except himself, from your graveyard to the hand. So basically, when you normal summon a Crusadia, you can special summon Draco anywhere along your combo into a zone and link monster points to, and then you get a free extender, because you can just take the normal summon Crusadia back and special summon it with its own effect. Then we have Arborea, which is a tuner, which is also a warrior, which makes it a target for reinforcement of the army, so just adding an additional Crusadia to your deck lineup. And a tuner, so being able to synchro summon in archetype and also using needle fiber plays. And then it has a graveyard protection effect, where if a Crusadia monster or monsters would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This is important. Keep in mind that this is not an activated effect. So I've heard by a few friends that they were locals, they activated Arborea's effect, or actually they wanted to use Arborea's effect to protect your monsters from being destroyed, and then the opponent tried to negate it, and they didn't know better, so they said, okay, damn, well, then my Arborea is negated. However, Arborea's effect to protect is not an activated effect, so you can't negate it with anything. You can't negate it with a Sullen Strike or with a what is it, Savage Dragon, whatever. You can't negate it at all, because it's not an activated effect. Instead, it says when it's destroyed by battle card effect, comma, you can banish this card from a field or GY instead. So if we take Bujingi Hair, for example, which says during either player's turn, colon, this is the activation requirement basically. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control, semicolon, which is the cost of the effect. Once during this turn, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. This effect can be negated because it's an activated effect, which is symbolized by the colon here, and so it can be negated. However, the Arborea has a comma here, so there's no activation requirement, there's no cost to be paid, nothing. And also it says instead, so these two pieces of information are important. Similarly to Salamangreat Bailings, which also can't be negated because it's not an activated effect. Keep that in mind, your Arborea can't be negated. Then we have Reclusia, which is a level 3 spellcaster monster. Now, after Arborea, those two basically are just mainly used for being a Crusadia name, so they're a combo starter, they're a combo extender. Some people like to use them for level 3 plays, for example to summon Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, but that's a very fringe scenario. Reclusia, however, has an interesting effect where if it's special summoned into a zone of link monster points, you can target a Crusadia card you control and a card your opponent controls and destroy them both, which on first glance seems a little disadvantageous, I want to say, because you have to invest more resources of yourself in order to get rid of a card of your opponent. But there's a little, I want to say, interesting combo play which you can consider splashing into your deck. So when we're talking about the trap cards, then we have Leonis, which can make a Crusadia link monster you control deal piercing battle damage, but that also very rarely comes up, so it's important to keep that in mind. It's also a Crusadia name, so it's combo starter extender, has decent stats, but other than that, it's not like super useful. Then talking about the spell cards, we have Crusadia Revival here, which is the field spell. It boosts all your Crusadia Link monsters for 500 attack points, and you can target one Crusadia Link monster you control, which can attack every one of your opponent's monsters once, which, if you remember, Maximus has the double battle damage effect. Then in tandem with the field spell, usually this will be an OTK. If you have an Equimax with a Maximus and a field spell on field, it's basically an OTK. So it's very nice to search this out with the Regulex. Then we have Crusadia Power, which is a quick play spell, and this makes one of your Crusadia monsters unaffected by card effects for the rest of this turn, except its own, which is even more important now because Cloudblight Grave has been limited to 1 copy per deck, so protecting your Magius or your Spatha or any of your Crusadia monsters from hand traps by Crusadia Power is very important. So personally, I would always play 3 of Crusadia Power. And then we have Crusadia Testament, which is also a quick play spell card that can either you can activate it basically at the start of your turn, and then your opponent cannot respond to the activations of your Crusadia monster effects, which is decent, but it's not as useful because it doesn't protect from Baylor and Impermanence, for example, since you can activate them just in your main phase in general and not, or rather in your opponent's main phase, and you don't have to specifically react to your opponent's monster effects with those cards. And also, after damage calculation, if your Crusadia Link monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can draw cards equal to the Link rating. So Crusadia Equimax, for example, is a Link 3 monster. If he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you activate Testament and draw 3 cards. Only issue is here, it sounds powerful at first, but if you destroy a monster by battle with Equimax and you don't win the duel, then chances are those 3 cards that you draw off of the Testament might not help you win the game beyond that. And if you destroy the monster by battle and win the duel, then Testament's not going to do anything. So it's win more at best, and it does nothing at worst, which, you know, it's kind of a niche card, I want to say, but I can definitely see why some people would play it. Then we have Crusadia Crawler, which is a trap card that can be summoned as a monster, and also if it's summoned into a Link monster zone, and can search a World Legacy card from a deck to your hand, which is going to come up when we talk about the cards in the side deck. And then we have the Crusadia Vanguard, which is super interesting because many people have forgotten about this card. What it does is that you can tribute a Crusadia or World Legacy monster and then summon a Crusadia or World Legacy monster from your deck or graveyard, which at first doesn't seem super helpful. And the second effect can basically be ignored because it says that while you control a Crusadia Link monster, your opponent's monsters can only target Link monsters for attacks. I guess that's alright, but it doesn't do enough to warrant a spot in the deck, you know, especially if you're playing the combo variant. But there's an interesting play where you can tribute any Crusadia monster you control with Vanguard, or like even a World Legacy monster, and then summon Reclusia on your opponent's turn into a zone a Link monster points to, using the effect of Reclusia targeting the Vanguard itself, and then basically, since the Vanguard doesn't do anything beyond that point, you're not only getting a new monster into a zone a Link monster points to, but you can also just have a free pop on your opponent's turn, and then use the Reclusia you summoned as a negate with Equimax, for example. So it turns 1 interruption into 2 interruptions. It's super cool. Also popping the normal summon, especially against like roguish combo decks, can basically end their turn immediately, which is super dope. So something I like to think about a lot. And then coming to the extra deck, there's 5 extra deck monsters. 4 of them are basically functioning in most of the same way. Evermax is a little bit of an exception. I'm going to talk about that in a second. All of these 4 right here gain the original attack of the monster they point to, or the monsters they point to. And all of them have also, or most of them have effects regarding their link zones. So Magius, if a monster is special summoned into a zone he points to, you can add a Crusadia monster from your deck to your hand. If a monster is summoned into Spatha zone, then you can target any monster in the main monster zone, also on your opponent's side of the field, though this doesn't really come up. And you can move it into a different main monster zone. That is especially important because of one card there is named LP. And LP can summon a dragon monster from your deck if you have a zone that 2 or more link monsters point to. So if you summon LP into the zone Spatha points to, and then use Spatha's effect to move LP one zone to the right, then you have this free zone right here that both point to, and you can use LP's effect. So basically Spatha and Draco being searchable by Magius is the main reason that you can use the God Dragon combo in your Crusadia deck. Then we have Regulikes, which can add a Crusadia spell or trap card from your deck to your hand if you summon a monster into a zone you point to, or if a monster is summoned into a zone you point to. Then we have Equimax, which is basically the boss monster, and a very powerful boss monster at that. You can, as a quick effect, attribute a Crusadia or World Legacy monster you control that he points to, and then basically he's an Omni Negate, so you can target any card on the field and negate its effect. That's what I was talking about a second ago. So if you attribute any of the Crusadia monsters with Vanguard, summon Reclusia into Equimax's zone, use Reclusia's effect, pop a card, and then you can use Equimax's effect, attributing off the Reclusia to use it as a negate. That's a very powerful combo, and I love to end on an Equimax. It's a very powerful and very oppressive end board piece. And then we have the Mekk-Knight Crusadia Abermax, which can be targeted by card effects, and as long as you control this card, your opponent cannot target other monsters except him by with attacks, which makes him extremely powerful, especially with his 3000 attack points. But even more so, to add to that, every time this monster battles, it gains the attack points of the monster it battles, which can be negated of course, but if it doesn't, then Abermax deals 3000 damage with every single battle. And also, if this Link Summon card is sent to the GY by an opponent's card, you can shuffle one card on the field into the deck, which is pretty dope as well. And so yeah, that's pretty much every single card from the Crusadia archetype so far. A few honorable mentions right here I have in the side deck is, for example, the World Legacy World Crown. Now, the World Legacy, of course, the Crusadia archetype is part of the World Legacy storyline, so it's not a huge surprise that there are some synergies with the cards. But the World Crown specifically is basically a Crusadia monster because it can also special summon itself into a Zona Link monster point too. However, it's a level 6 monster, so it can't be normal summoned like as the very first monster on your turn, meaning it's not a combo starter like the other 5 Crusadias. It is, however, a combo extender like the other 5 Crusadias, meaning that you can still play it and make huge use of it. Also, it has a quick effect where if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck activates its effect, you can tribute this card that you control and then destroy the monster of your opponent. Also, you can negate the activation of the effect. So that's pretty cool, especially against combo decks, but also you can use it, for example, if you have summoned it into Equimax's zone, you can tribute it off with Equimax's effect to have an Omni Negate. You can search it off of the Crawler. You can tribute it off of the Vanguard to summon the Reclusia. You can also summon it with the Vanguard. So there's a lot of room to play the World Legacy World Crown in Crusadias. And then there's the World Legacy World Lens, which doesn't see any play really, and I definitely can see why. But it still does have some use, I guess, in Crusadias, because if a Link monster battles, then you can discard this card, and the opponent's monster in this battle loses, or the attack of the opponent's monster becomes 0 for this battle. Meaning that even if you only have an Equimax with like 2000 attack points, you discard the World Lens and then your Equimax can beat over it. But usually this is to establish the Equimax one-punch OTK, which is pretty dope, except it usually will work even without the lens, so it's kind of a wasted spot, I want to say. But it's still interesting to see nonetheless. And then we have 2 Monster Reborns here basically, which is World Legacy Succession, which can Monster Reborn a monster into Zona Link monster points to, so kind of specific here. And then we have World Legacy God Dragon, which doesn't require a Link Zone, but it requires the monster that is reborn to be a level 4 or lower Dragon monster. So, strictly speaking about Crusadias, the only monster you can reborn with World Legacy God Dragon is Crusadia Draco. But considering that you want to play, let's say you want to play first and then you want to play the God Dragon combo, having a Crusadia Draco monster reborn is very helpful. And also, World Legacy God Dragon can basically take over Spatha's job, because it can target a dragon monster you control and then move the monster to another main monster zone, meaning you don't have to activate Spatha's effect to move LP into the rightmost zone. Instead, you can use the World Legacy God Dragon, and your opponent cannot impermanent your Spatha, for example, which is pretty dope. And also, as I mentioned before, all of these cards can be searched with Crawler. So if you summon Crawler on your opponent's turn, you always have a follow-up, either by a Monster Reborn or just by a combo extender itself, or by enabling your OTK if your Equimax survives or whatever. So there's lots of potential to include other cards in this archetype as well. And with this, we've talked about all the cards in the Crusadia archetype or related to the Crusadia archetype. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. So maybe if you're new to the deck or new to the game, then this might have sparked your interest in the deck itself. And if it did, then I can definitely only recommend to check out the other videos I'm going to post in the upcoming days, because I'm going to go a little more in depth about the combos, how the combos work, how to build a Crusadia deck, what an absolute Crusadia core must contain, then what are some interesting tech choices and whatnot. So there's way more to talk about, and I plan on going all over this in more detail. So if you're interested in that, then definitely subscribe to the channel. Also leave a like on this video. If you didn't enjoy this video, then definitely tell me in the comments what you didn't like, because I'm always trying to improve my content, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So other than that, guys, see you next time.